Revealed. My daughter blocked me from my dream home, the incredible transformation that followed. Mark Thompson stood before the meticulously outlined frame of his dream home, grappling with an explosive realization. His only daughter, Emily, had cut him out entirely. With a few taps on her phone, she had severed what felt like an invisible yet irreplaceable connection, the one he'd built from toilet installations to open concept spaces. What had he done to deserve this? Each nail he'd hammered into wood, every late night spent calculating costs, had been for her. Now, Emily saw the house as a weight pulling her down, a relic of his fading dreams. He could almost hear her voice, filled with that stubborn zest he admired. "Dad, let's create something new, not this. This is your dream." Yet didn't their past deserve to echo in every room? Didn't the swing set waiting in the backyard speak of laughter, birthday parties, and father-daughter afternoons? As she turned her back, frustration bubbled to the surface. Wasn't it enough to sacrifice time, energy, and weekends for something they could treasure together? His heart ached, not with resentment, but with confusion. What was wrong with a father wanting to secure a future filled with love? The backyard he envisioned smaller than the vast aspirations she carried. But their worlds had collided, and now Mark was teetering on a precipice of self-doubt, his dreams haunted by the shadow of a daughter craving autonomy. Was he too stuck in that dream era, while Emily was ready to forge her own? Was he suffocating her ambitions by wanting to mold her memories in what he had envisioned? The pressure rose. Sure, he found solace in work. Yet his mind raced through conflicting thoughts each day. The comforting hum of power tools filled the silence where Emily's laughter once was. All around him, he had friends who shared unsaid burdens, growing economic pressures closing in on them like a vice. He'd sacrificed his passions through every project for the sake of family. But where was family when the very fabric started to fray? The foundation was crumbling beneath what he thought was a solid relationship. His professional environment echoed with camaraderie, but when he walked through his own front door, he felt like an intruder in a fortress too faintly resembling home to feel inviting. The local developer pranced onto the scene, bulldozing through neighborhoods with the arrogance of men who saw only dollar signs. It rattled him, that made his skin prickle with advocacy and justice. "They can't take this dream from us," he shouted to no one in particular, but his voice faltered. Did Emily even care? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. He was at war with time, the very essence of joy wearing thin. His dreams, once so bright, felt like pieces of glass scattering at his feet. He approached Emily with hopes of integrating her into the struggle, but her eyes reflected a disinterest that cut sharper than any contractor's blade. "Stop trying to reinvent the wheel, Dad," she snapped, tossing aside his plans like crumpled paper. Her frustration exploded, revealing deep-seated fears. Did she fear being anchored in a legacy that felt foreign? As they stood facing each other, emotions reached a boiling point, the tension thickening like concrete setting too fast. The air crackled with unresolved love and expectations, both feeling trapped in stories they hadn't intended to write. Would they find a way to dismantle the partitions they built of misunderstandings, or let those barriers rise higher, choking the bond that once defined them? The journey toward reconciliation loomed ahead, but for now, Mark's heart lay in a labyrinth, echoing with an unmistakable sense of impending loss. Mark stumbled back from the confrontation, his pulse racing. It was as if he'd been doused in ice water, the weight of his intentions crashing down on him. He wanted to bridge the chasm forming between them, but how could he, with Emily working tirelessly to keep him at arm's length? Each passing day without communication gnawed at him. There was a constant reminder of unfulfilled dreams and what should be a sanctuary now more foreboding than welcoming. He spent hours wandering through the half-constructed house. It was a shell, stark and unforgiving. The kitchen was still barren, void of the mingled sense of dinner prep that usually filled the home. Mark found himself questioning his own motives. Was this truly a dream home for the two of them, or merely a vessel of his unattainable expectations? The vibrations of his phone broke through his thoughts. An email arrived containing images of recent developments in the neighborhood, large corporate buildings rising where family homes had once existed. Hatred for the developers welled within him, a gut reaction that only amplified his frustration. Wasn't losing their neighborhood akin to losing Emily? Each photo showed an encroaching reality that felt incompatible with family, love, and home. This wasn't merely a battle against bricks and mortar, it was symbolic of the fight he had begun in his own life. Sleep eluded him, so he turned back to his workbench, seeking familiarity in the cold metal tools that had always been an extension of himself. In this dark season marked by a daunting void, a flicker of clarity pierced through. He could not simply impose his vision onto Emily. Rather, he needed to empower her to create her own. What if she could help shape their shared story, defining memories in a way that resonated with both of their souls? The next day, taking a deep breath like a diver preparing to plunge below the surface, he sought her out. "Can we talk?" was all he mustered, but Emily's reluctance was palpable as her eyes narrowed into an expression of foreboding. She held her ground, posture stiff as she adjusted the strap of her backpack. Did she sense his intention? Could she already anticipate the heaviness in his voice? Mark knew he had to tread lightly. This was a dance as delicate as the frameworks he crafted. "I realized I might have pushed you away with my own dreams. I want to understand what you want." Each word was deliberate, a cautious step into an uncharted emotional territory where vulnerability meant navigating through thorns. Emily hesitated, her stormy blue eyes betraying uncertainty. Was she willing to grant him a sliver of space to vocalize her own desires, or was it easier to remain silent? The weight of expectation loomed heavy between them, freeze-framing this moment of potential understanding. "I guess I want to feel like we're building something together, not just what you want," she said finally. The relief that flickered across her face suggested her willingness to explore this painful discussion. Hope threaded through Mark's heart as he proposed an idea that bubbled up within him. "Let's explore the designs together. We can find a balance, your dreams and my stability merging." The words hung in the air, heavy with risk. Would it be enough? Would she trust him with this new path, one that supported rather than stifled? Mark's world hinged precariously on her acceptance. Emily's tentative smile calmed his racing heartbeat. Yet deep within him, the fear of the project collapsing into yet another reminder of discord loomed quietly. A soft echo of agreement floated toward him, but the shadows of deeper issues remained unaddressed. Moments later, as they began to sketch ideas together, a familiar sense of purpose ignited in him. Maybe this wasn't just about constructing a home, but rather cultivating a relationship. Perhaps, finally, they could both unearth dreams long buried. But the underlying fissures lay ready to surface, threatening to disrupt their nascent progress. As they exchanged visions, Mark couldn't shake the sensation that there was still something unresolved, a lingering truth about their connection, waiting to erupt with all the fury of a hurricane. What his daughter had yet to reveal remained a mystery, one that had wound itself into the fabric of their shared narrative. Would this journey of rebuilding help them confront the deeper fears looming within, or serve to widen the rift, sending them both into solitary spirals of reflection? Mark found himself waking up the next day with a nagging urgency. The sketches of the house lay scattered across the workbench, remnants of their conversation a night ago. As he glanced at the designs, an unexpected flame ignited within him. If he truly wanted to build a home together, he needed to confront his fear, failure. His instincts screamed at him to retreat into familiar capabilities, to define stability through his lens alone, but a flicker of insight urged otherwise. He stepped out, inhaling the crisp morning air, reflecting on what Emily's words had awakened in him. The very notion of collaboration felt alien, yet thrilling, a merging of dreams that had long been boxed up under layers of expectation and solitude. Would they be able to illuminate paths through the uncertainties that had darkened their relationship? Coming to the neighborhood that had shifted so dramatically in recent months, Mark pulled out his phone. The photos echoed the changes, familiar landmarks dwarfed by concrete, the essence of warmth replaced by cold commercialism. Yet what could he offer to Emily that encapsulated something greater than this loss? Something she could hold on to? An idea burgeoned. Maybe they could create a project that stood not just as a house, but as a testament to resilience, crafting something that would allow them both to reclaim familiar sentiments amid chaos. As Mark walked through the makeshift paths of the construction site, visualizing possibilities, he slowly built a plan. He returned home, pulling out the sketches once more. He envisioned each room not merely constructed, but embodying the essence of their experiences. Her grandmother's recipes in the kitchen, the colors of her childhood bedrooms echoing through the living space. A sanctuary birthed from shared dreams and not hung-ups. Uncertainty loomed like a fog, but Mark felt grounded in this pursuit. With his idea crystallizing, he gathered the sketches to show Emily, hoping this would resonate with her. The notion of an open dialogue about each design, the perfect balance between their fantasies, suddenly felt electrifying. He texted her, "Can we meet? I have something I want to share." The seconds crawled as he awaited her response, the anticipation tightening in his chest. Within the hour, she responded with a hesitant, "Sure." He thought he could sense a tiny spark of curiosity woven in her reply. Later that evening, they met in the half-constructed living room, the shadows from the setting sun dancing along the frames. Facing each other, Mark took a deep breath, fighting off his nervousness. He laid out the sketches, explaining his visions behind each one. The enthusiasm built with every designated space. Emily's eyes seemed to brighten with every detail unraveled. Yet even as they infused life into their plans, Mark could see the subtle apprehension lingering behind her gaze, a mirror of his own fears. Could they truly navigate the scars left by the disillusionment that once consumed their relationship? He stated, "I want you to feel this is ours, not just the house I want." Each word struck a chord, their synchronization pivotal in the unfolding moment. And just as they began to plan the basement into a creative space complete with an art corner for her, Emily's pace slowed. "Mark, there's something I haven't told you. Something about how I feel about this all." The air thickened, and Mark's heart raced as he braced himself for unfolding truths that could shatter yet soothe. This was the moment he feared, but also craved. Would her words be the key to understanding their fractured past, or another obstacle in their path toward reconciliation? The partition of silence splintered between them, and he prepared for the weight of revelation hanging in the balance. Whatever she revealed would reshape the very foundation they were attempting to build, this time cemented by honesty rather than fear. Mark's heart pounded. He could feel the unspooled tension in the air, a sudden shift as Emily's words hovered, thick with meaning. He knew this was a pivotal moment, one that could alter everything. Gathering a breath deep enough to quell his anxiety, he leaned forward. "Emily, whatever it is, I want to hear it. We need to be honest if this is going to work." His voice, though earnest, was laced with an edge of desperation. The thought of slipping back into old patterns, where unspoken fears became the walls of their relationship, sent a shiver down his spine. Emily looked down, the moment stretching painfully. "It's not just about the house, Mark. It's about us and what this project represents." There was a tremor in her voice, the vulnerability between them almost palpable. "I've been feeling—" As her sentence faltered, Mark felt a surge of impatience. A rush of doubt swept over him. Would this be another wall he had to scale? But along with that doubt came a flicker of empathy, reminding him he needed to give her space to speak. This was uncharted territory for both of them. It represents another attempt at something, she continued slowly, each word carefully measured. And I'm scared that we might build this beautiful thing and then it still won't hold. What if we end up disappointed again? What if the home we create is only a facade, hiding deeper issues that we refuse to confront? The weight of her honesty grounded Mark. He considered her fears as reflective of his own, more than just echoes of their tumultuous past. Perhaps the home they envisioned wasn't only a shelter from the storm, it was a crucible where they would either flourish or flounder. I understand, Mark said, his tone softening. This process means facing our past failures, not escaping them. But we can do this together. Maybe that's the first step, transforming our old patterns. Instead of letting our fears inhibit us, we can face them through this house. Mark could see a flicker of understanding in Emily's eyes, a spark that hinted at shared resolve. He reached out, placing his hand over hers. What if we make this place a reflection of not just our hopes, but also our fears? A testament to what we have faced together? For a moment, they simply held that stare, their hands linked, forging a connection. The air felt lighter, though it still thrummed with uncertainty. With every heartbeat, it began to settle in that maybe their fears wouldn't be a barrier, but rather an integral part of their shared journey. Emily nodded at last, a mixture of fear and courage swirling in her gaze. Okay, she whispered. Let's rebuild, but let's do it with intention. Each room will tell our story, the good and the difficult. Mark's heart eased slightly. They were committing to a partnership that embraced honesty. He wanted to propel their conversation forward with excitement, the thrill of possibility tinging the edges of his thoughts. Now came the plans. How to incorporate their apprehensions into the fabric of the home. How to design spaces that challenge them to confront their vulnerabilities. The kitchen, for example, Mark suggested, feeling animated by the conversation. Let's create an open space that encourages gatherings, a place that blends our passions, where we can both cook and share memories. It'll be a hub where past recipes intertwine with experimentation. His vision seemed to energize both of them, igniting the room with warmth. Yet as they continued brainstorming, Mark's mind flickered back to Emily's earlier concerns. Could they indeed confront their deeper issues along the way? Every sketch represented more than just walls. It held the potential for transformative experiences. And just as their excitement began to rise, Mark couldn't shake a nagging worry. What if they unearthed truths that would unravel everything? Turning back to Emily, he caught the uncertainty threaded in her smile. It mirrored his own. The air buzzed with ambition, tempered by an undercurrent of risk. Let's meet tomorrow, same time, she suggested, the momentum still lingering. Definitely, Mark replied, but in the pit of his stomach a question gnawed at him, a question he couldn't voice just yet. What would happen when the truth began to unfold, layer by layer? As they left the construction site together, Mark pondered the unpredictable path ahead. What had started as plans for a house was evolving into a journey into the depths of their relationship, one neither had anticipated. Little did he know, tomorrow would present challenges beyond their blueprints, forcing them to confront their shared past in ways they hadn't imagined. Would they embrace the lessons the journey had to offer, or would the weight of their histories prove to be too much? Mark awoke the next morning with a sense of urgency tugging at his gut. The dreams of unfinished houses and unanswered questions clung to him like morning fog, obscuring the clarity he had hoped for. It was easy to focus on the physical plans for their new home, the walls and designs, but beneath that facade lay the complex undercurrents of their relationship. He couldn't shake the feeling that today would bring more than just sketches and blueprints. It might force him to confront demons they both preferred to ignore. His first stop was the construction site, where Emily was already unpacking materials. The sight of her back to him stirred a cocktail of nerves in his stomach. She straightened at the sound of his approach, and their eyes met. A momentary recognition of the unspoken challenges ahead. "Hey, Mark," she greeted, a half-smile breaking through her apparent apprehension. "Ready to dig in?" he asked, attempting a light-hearted tone that felt disingenuous even to himself. "Yeah," she skirted. "But let's start by talking about the living room." As they moved to the larger space of the house, her focus shifted, but Mark could sense the tension in her shoulders. The air was thicker here, as if the walls themselves were harboring their anxieties. Images of their past clashes crowded his mind. Had they merely skirted around the truths that haunted their last project together? "What if we design the living room to be open, but with cozy nooks?" Emily suggested, trying to maintain her enthusiasm. "It could be a blend of comfort and community." Her words struck a chord. The concept rang true for him. The living room could be a lesson in vulnerability. "I think that's great, but let's ensure it's also a place for solitude when necessary," he countered, gauging her reaction. "It could symbolize the balance we're striving for in our relationship, embracing both connection and independence." A flicker of surprise crossed her face, an unguarded moment that reminded him they were figuring this out together. He felt a surge of determination. This design project wasn't just about fixing a house. It was a metaphor for their relationship and the complexities within it. As they sketched, the dialogue flowed more freely, each note of laughter balancing their tension. Still, a gnawing thought trailed him. Would they be able to truly communicate, not only about designs, but about their fears? "Let's talk about that corner," Mark said, pointing to an area where they'd planned to place the fireplace. "It could either isolate us or be the center of warmth and connection." Emily nodded thoughtfully. "It's a representation of our past struggles, isn't it? We just need to choose how we want it to serve us." The metaphor struck Mark deeply. Every decision they made would either reflect their growth or magnify unresolved issues. This realization caused the excitement of the fresh ideas to be shadowed by a sense of impending confrontation. Yet as lunch approached, their discussion was interrupted by a text from an unknown number. Mark opened it out of curiosity, only to find a picture of the new house they'd been discussing, a photo taken from the street. The message that followed read, "You shouldn't be doing this. Some things are best left buried." A chill cascaded down his spine. Who was this person? He turned to Emily, panic bubbling beneath the surface. "We need to talk. This isn't just about the house anymore." Suddenly, a distance closed in between them, far from the collaborative spirit they had just shared. Their openness felt stripped away, leaving behind their apprehension and fear of the past. "Mark, what's going on?" Emily asked, her voice tight. "I don't know, but I think the real challenge starts here," he replied, a tremor of fear sharpening his resolve. Standing in the half-built structure, both felt the weight of their past pressing against them, reinforced by the chilling echo of an unknown threat. Would they bridge the gaps pulling them apart, or would history repeat itself, consuming them in a wave of doubt? As they stood at the crossroad, Mark's mind raced with the realization that they were about to face not only their fears, but also a new adversary from their past, a challenge that could unravel the very foundation of their shared dream. Would they have the courage to confront it, or would it derail their hopes before they even began? Mark felt a surge of anxiety churn within him as he read and reread that haunting message. Some things are best left buried. The words surged with a personal weight that twisted his stomach into knots. How could anyone understand the stakes involved with their project? What about the past made it so unapproachable, so undeniable? "Let's take a step back," Emily suggested, her voice trembling slightly, a far cry from the excitement they had just shared. "No, we can't," he interjected, urgency spilling over. "We can't ignore this. Somebody's watching us." The fact that a stranger knew about their house filled him with dread, but deeper still was the fear of what this might mean for them. "Maybe we should just focus on our design," Emily replied, a hesitant look darting across her face, as if they could rebuild their hope while ignoring the threat. Mark realized even that notion felt like a denial. "Emily, we've spent all this time avoiding the past. We can't just skirt around it, especially not now." The air crackled with tension, stretching between them like a taut wire. Clarity suddenly dawned on Mark. This was it, their defining moment. The house project was more than an endeavor of construction. It mirrored their intricate dance of avoidance and confrontation, a cautionary tale poised to erupt if they didn't navigate it with care. "Whoever sent this message, they must know something about us," he continued, determination deepening his resolve. "It's more than just bricks and mortar. It's us. Our dreams and failures are all wrapped up in this house." Emily's brow furrowed. "But confronting it means risking everything. What if it breaks us? Or strengthens us?" Mark countered, aware that each word carried the weight of choice. "What if we face these fears together, not just about the house, but everything we've avoided? Maybe that means we finally stop running." The thought ignited something profound within him. Facing failures shouldn't be about condemnation. It was an opportunity for growth. They could fortify the foundation of their relationship, allowing for healing through honesty. The sunlight filtered through the half-constructed walls, casting intricate shadows on the ground, each an echo of their journey. Mark could feel the atmosphere shift ever so slightly, a sense of potential fluttering between them. Could they take that leap together? "Let's confront this," he said, each word more confident than the last, a testament to his evolving mindset. "Let's unearth what's buried and rebuild it into something strong. For the house. For us." Emily licked her lips, her apprehension still present but overshadowed by something new, an emboldened spark flickering in her eyes. "If we're doing this, we have to commit," she replied softly in agreement. "We need to be all in." Mark nodded, a cascade of resolve washing over him. The road ahead might be convoluted, but this moment felt crucial. They were beginning to understand their shared vulnerability, and perhaps that was the crux of transformation, acknowledging the demons that lingered beneath the surface. As they settled back into their work, the sketches took on new life, not just as blueprints, but as manifestations of their shared promise. With each line, they infused honesty and intent, molding these elements into something tangible. Then, as they turned to the next phase of the design, Mark received another text, this one sending an electric jolt through him. A video link. Heart racing, he clicked it open, dread clawing at his insides as he steeled himself. Whatever awaited on the other side had the potential to derail everything they had just embraced. "Mark?" Emily's voice interrupted his thoughts, concern lacing her tone, but he couldn't reply. The screen was full of shadows. A figure emerged, cloaked in anonymity but seething with menace. This was a confrontation he had not anticipated, one that could reveal hidden truths, burdens buried deep, and secrets that may forever alter their narrative. Mark could only wonder, would they be able to withstand this final test, or would this be an unraveling force, compelling them to confront their darkest fears? The moment of truth loomed closer, and he knew their journey was just beginning. Mark's breath hitched in his chest as he stared at the ominous figure on his phone screen. The dim lighting obscured the stranger's features, but the energy radiating from them was unmistakable, a swirling mix of foreboding and revelation. In that moment, the air was thick with gravity. Every heartbeat felt amplified, echoing the potential catastrophe that could unfold. "Who are you?" Mark finally managed to force out, his voice steady despite the turmoil brewing within him. The figure paused, as if weighing their response, and the tension stretched like a rubber band, threatening to snap. "Someone who knows what you're trying to ignore," the figure replied, their voice dripping with condescension. "You think you can build a future without confronting your past?" Those words hung heavy in the air, stirring an inner tempest. Mark's instinct was to recoil, to shut out the implications. But this time, he couldn't. The house they were building represented not just walls, but also the opportunities for healing their relationship desperately needed. "Stop!" Emily's voice broke through, grounding him. She stepped closer, her presence a soothing balm against the chaos. "What do you want?" The figure tilted their head slightly, a silent acknowledgement of her courage. "To help you find clarity. The past doesn't vanish because you choose to ignore it," they said, each syllable laced with a chilling certainty. "You both need to face it. Only then can you move forward." Mark felt the weight of those words crash over him like a wave, threatening to pull him under. Could this anonymous figure really have insight into their lives, their struggles? As revelations about his failures and fears flickered in his mind like a fast-paced film reel, he renewed his resolve. This moment was a catalyst, a divisive fork in the road. "What are you suggesting?" he asked, dimly aware that he was no longer simply seeking answers, but actively plunging into the depths of his own psyche. "Connect with what you've buried. Your dreams are stifled by the fear of your reality. I'll show you. A glimpse into what lies beneath," the stranger replied, flicking their wrist. The screen darkened momentarily before illuminating once more with a hastily compiled collection of images. Fragments of their past, snippets of regret that showcased their failures etched in time. Mark's heart sank as memories flickered in and out. Each image was a section of his own undoing, a project left unfinished, an opportunity lost, promises made to himself and Emily that lay dormant. He could feel Emily beside him, the weight of shared vulnerabilities fueling his drive to break free of their chains. "This is our chance," he whispered, more to himself than anyone else. "To dig deep and lay it all bare. We can't build this house on a shaky foundation of denial." "Mark!" Emily's voice wavered, uncertainty creeping back into her features. "Are we really sure we want to do this?" His resolve crystallized into a sharp edge. "Yes, we have to. This is about so much more than the house. If we face these shadows together, maybe we can even reclaim some of the dreams we thought were lost." As they exchanged glances, a silent understanding blossomed. The fear of revealing their truths paled against the conviction surging within them. They had been living in the aftermath of their past decisions, but here they stood united, on the brink of confronting what had restrained them. "Are you ready?" Mark asked Emily, the energy shifting around them as if the universe too held its breath. She took a deep breath, her eyes narrowing with resolve. "I'm ready," she affirmed, the tremor in her voice now a quiver of determination. The stranger nodded, with the slightest smile, and the world beyond the screen began to fade away, making room for a new chapter that awaited them. As they delved into their past, like archaeologists unearthing remnants of a long-gone civilization, Mark felt more than just fear. He felt alive, propelled forward, knowing breakthrough lay just ahead. It dawned on him that he was no longer the person he used to be. Each revelation would peel away layers, revealing a more profound version of himself, one that could harness both darkness and light. Yet as the night deepened around them, he couldn't shake the nagging thought of what other truths lay hidden. What would it mean for him to confront not just the shadows of his past, but also the realities of his present? The anticipation crackled intensely in the air, hinting that the next encounter with the unknown was just around the corner. Mark's pulse quickened as he felt himself being pulled deeper into the abyss of their past. Unseen weights pressed down on his chest, urging him to recoil, yet simultaneously encouraging him to embrace this journey. The glow of the phone screen dimmed, but the images clung to the corners of his mind, biting at the threads of his resolve. "Let's start with you, Mark," the figure urged, their eyes gleaming with a penetrating intensity. "What do you fear the most?" Mark swallowed hard, feeling the familiar suffocating clutches of doubt wrap around him. "Failure," he admitted, the word barely escaping his lips. It felt cathartic, yet infuriatingly familiar. He had built a fortress around that fear, refusing to let it spill over into his reality. But the walls were cracking. "Why do you hold so tightly to it?" the figure pressed, challenging him with raw curiosity. What would happen if you stopped giving it power? Mark glanced at Emily, whose eyes mirrored his internal struggle. Her expression was one of unwavering support, yet he could sense her own apprehensions simmering just beneath the surface. He realized that this wasn't just his fear to confront. It was a shared burden that had woven itself into the fabric of their relationship. "I fear not being enough," he finally confessed, his voice steadier this time. "Not for her, not for our dreams, not for anything." The admission hung in the air, heavy with significance. The truth of it was like a knife, cutting through years of self-deception. The figure nodded slowly, acknowledging the weight of his honesty. "There's strength in vulnerability, Mark. What you think holds you back is often what sets you free. You must let the past speak." As he listened, breathing slowly, he felt fragments of memories reclaim their place in his mind. His father's disappointed gaze, his own anxious reflections in the mirror, the relentless pressure to meet expectations he'd set for himself. It had been suffocating, this relentless pursuit of an untouchable standard. Projecting that fear onto Emily was easier than facing it myself, he whispered, almost to himself. But that's not what I want anymore. In that thin moment, clarity struck him. The house they were building could symbolize not just their future, but their reconciliation with the past. It felt like a chance to rebuild everything from a solid foundation instead of one riddled with unspoken truths and suppressed emotions. "Tell me about a moment you felt proud," the figure prompted, guiding Mark into a more constructive reflection. He thought for a brief moment. "The first time I finished a project at work," he recounted, remembering the pride swelling in his chest as he presented it to his team. "It was hard, and I put everything into it. I realized I could create something meaningful." "Then why not reclaim that feeling?" the figure encouraged. "Use it as fuel." Mark felt heat rush through his veins. This was transformative. He had spent too long in the shadows of his failures, neglecting the successes that were equally a part of him. He could almost taste the raw energy of achievement, waiting to be harnessed. "Let's do this, Emily," he turned to her, stepping into their shared moment of commitment. "Let's face this together. I want to break this cycle of fear and create something reflective of both of us." A flicker of renewed determination ignited in Emily's gaze as she nodded. "I want that too. I want to reclaim our dreams." Her voice was resolute, and the intensity of their shared goal pulsed in tandem with their heartbeat. "Excellent," the figure proclaimed. "But be prepared. The path of revelation is often littered with disquieting truths. In confronting what lies hidden, you may unearth more than you bargained for." Mark's heart raced at the prospect. This journey of introspection and mutual discovery felt both exhilarating and treacherous. As the world around them faded farther into the background, he couldn't ignore the shiver of anticipation that ran through him. The true work was just beginning, and while apprehension gripped his heart, the promise of growth crackled beneath the surface. What if, within the shadows, they found unmatched truths that changed everything they believed? In that pivotal moment, he understood there would be no turning back. The layers of his past were about to be peeled away, exposing truths he could no longer ignore. But as they ventured deeper, he wondered what revelations awaited him and whether they would indeed transform his entire existence or leave him shattered. "Are you ready for what's next?" the figure asked, their voice steady, igniting a flicker of trepidation within him. Mark nodded, the weight of determination heavy on his shoulders. "Yes, let's see what the past can teach us." Mark's resolve solidified like a steel beam, the rickety scaffolding of his past crumbling as he stepped forward with Emily by his side. With renewed intent, he absorbed the figure's challenge, each word echoing in his mind. The moment had come for them to dig deeper, to confront the origins of the fears that haunted him, and by extension, her too. "Tell me what you see," the figure instructed, gesturing to the shadows around them. In those shrouded corners, Mark sensed the shape of his past, the struggles he'd buried beneath layers of duty and denial. "It's disorganized," Mark admitted, recalling the chaos of memories. "Like a house falling apart." His voice betrayed the tremor of truth nestled in his core. "Exactly. And every piece matters," the figure replied, their eyes locking onto his. "What truths are you ready to confront?" Mark blinked, pieces clicking into place. The guilt for pursuing what I want while holding Emily back. The fear of letting go. The vulnerability of his realization unfolded like a delicate flower under the sun, revealing layers Mark had hidden even from himself. "I've always thought that being responsible meant sacrificing my own happiness. I thought it was noble." As he spoke, he glanced at Emily, who stood resolute yet vulnerable. She was a quiet strength, a soft echo urging him to press on. "It's not noble if it destroys you," she interjected gently, her voice firm but tender. "Your happiness is vital, Mark. Our dreams are intertwined." A wave of guilt washed over him. The burdens he had imposed onto their relationship surfaced unbidden. "What if in chasing my dreams I push you away? What if I fail again?" "Then we fail together," Emily responded, her determination unwavering. "But we have to try, Mark. Fear only wins when we remain silent." The weight of her words collided with his fears, igniting flame within. He needed this authenticity, not just for them, but for himself. He realized that the walls he had meticulously crafted were also isolating him from his own desires. The figure observed Mark thoughtfully. "What's next, Mark? How will you use this insight to build a new narrative?" Mark paused to contemplate. "I will start rebuilding, not just our house, but also my identity. I can't project my failures onto Emily anymore. I will transform this fear into a foundation, a driving force to pursue what we both want." The figure nodded approvingly, as if recognizing his shift. "Good. Remember, the greatest growth emerges from the most uncomfortable places. Now let's uncover the fears lurking in those corners." Mark took a breath, steeling himself. He began to verbalize the unearthed memories, facing the teenage Mark who stood before a judging father and the echoes of confrontation that had slashed at his self-worth. Each moment felt like a failure, like a weight that tethered me to a past I instinctively wanted to escape. "Then why let it dictate your future?" the figure challenged. "You're not that person anymore." "I won't," Mark vowed, the weight on his chest lightening moment by moment as he spoke. "It's time to redefine who I am, remove the anchors, and sail forward." With every word, clarity painted over the tumultuous memories, transforming the shame into lessons learned. There was power in recognizing his struggles, power that came not from denial, but from acceptance. As his mind cleared, Mark envisioned their future. Not just concrete walls, but a sanctuary bearing the essence of who they were becoming together. "We will make this space ours. It'll reflect every part of us, even the broken pieces, because that's what makes it beautiful." "Harness that energy," the figure encouraged. "Use it to fuel your next steps." With Emily's hand tightening around his, Mark felt the promise of a new dawn. They would not just face the fears together, they would embrace the unknown, taking charge of the story, yet to unfold. However, a lingering shadow flickered at the edges of his thoughts. What specific truths would he still have to confront? What unseen obstacles awaited them on their journey of reinvention? "Are you ready for what you may discover about yourselves?" the figure asked, their voice punctuating the tension that hung in the air. Mark's heart raced with equal parts excitement and trepidation. More than ever. But deep down, a nagging doubt began to fester. What if their uncovered truths were more damaging than he anticipated? Mark awoke the next morning with a freshness in his spirit, a feeling of urgency pulsing through his veins. The previous day's revelations echoed within him, courage infused with the promise of a collaborative future. Today would mark a decisive turning point, for he and Emily were about to meld their fears into something transformative. The morning sun flooded the half-finished living room, illuminating the sketches that lay strewn across the table. Each design now felt like a tangible stepping stone toward newfound honesty. As he flipped through them, he sensed that the home didn't merely need structure, but essence. Emotional integrity reflected in its very foundation. They needed to be the architects of their story, and the skeleton of a house was only the beginning. "I've been thinking," he shared with Emily as she joined him, reluctance still shadowing her eyes. "What if we start every room with a truth? What if the living room represents the warmth of our shared experiences while acknowledging our vulnerabilities?" "I like that idea," Emily responded, her expression softening. "It could reflect open dialogue, but also incorporate elements of solitude for personal growth. Maybe each piece we add holds a story of our journey." Mark felt a spark ignite within him. Together, they could create an environment that was genuinely reflective of their past struggles and triumphs. "I wonder if we can add a gallery wall in the hallway, displaying milestone memories, the good and the difficult. It could serve as a reminder of our growth and evolution together." He watched as her face brightened. "And the kitchen could be a place of exploration, where we both share our favorite recipes, capturing the warmth of family and the spontaneity of experimenting with flavors. It could symbolize harmony." Mark nodded, heart swelling with gratitude for this moment of openness. "Yes, and we can create an outdoor space that feels both serene and invigorating, combining solitude with connection. It will symbolize the balance we are striving for in ourselves and with one another." It struck him then. This house transcended mere physicality. It was a tapestry of lessons learned, a vibrant celebration of who they had become amidst adversity. Each room would recount the tales of struggle, resilience, and ultimately triumph. They dove into sketches together, lost in discussion, laughter flowing freely as creative passion enveloped them like a warm embrace. The more they envisioned their home, the more they seemed to lay bare their fears and vulnerabilities until the shadows that once separated them began to dissolve. "Mark," Emily paused as he sketched an archway into their designs. "The truth about facing the past, it scares me. What if it unearths more than we can handle?" He felt the weight of her fear as if it were his own. "That's the risk, isn't it?" he replied thoughtfully. "But what if we emerge strengthened, transformed, and empowered? Those truths won't control us if we embrace them." A moment of understanding passed as they locked eyes. They were united in the pursuit of clarity, each pushing past the walls that had confined them for too long. Taking a deep breath, Mark took Emily's hands, heart racing with a sudden wave of emotion. "I'm committed to this journey, to us, to rewriting the narrative." With an earnest nod, Emily squeezed his hand, conviction blooming. "Me too. I believe we can build something beautiful together. Let's face what comes next." And so they moved forward, outlining room after room, carefully crafting elements that encapsulated their intertwined dreams. They laughed about the countless memories that formed the essence of their narrative, lost dishes at family dinners, echoed laughter in the backyard, and quiet moments alone during tumultuous times. As they wrapped up their session, Mark craved one final push. "How about we invite friends over for a small gathering this weekend? We could celebrate our progress and share our vision. It will be a step toward creating community around our new home." Emily's face lit up, the timid smile resembling the girl he had always cherished. "That sounds perfect. An opportunity to welcome people into our journey, to show them who we are becoming." When the day finally came, Mark greeted their friends at the unadorned doorway, every line of anxiety etched in his features. But as laughter spilled over the threshold, it transformed into something electric, the apprehension replaced with joy. With every shared story, every toast to new beginnings, his heart surged with solid confidence. They were creating not merely an abode, but the essence of family long lost, rebuilt on the foundations of mutual respect, honesty, and vulnerability. At one moment during the gathering, Mark stepped outside, gazing at the home anew. He realized how far they had come, tracing the steps of the past shaped by regrets that had transformed into lessons, and what lay ahead as an uncharted, promising horizon. In that moment of reflection, surveying the growth manifested in every corner of the structure, every wall adorned with the essence of shared experience, he felt an overwhelming sense of accomplishment. He had built not just a house, but a haven that would nurture his deep relationship with Emily, emboldening her to pursue her aspirations while carrying their shared story into the world. The transformation he sought was finally complete, and underpinned by unwavering trust, they had conquered the fears that had once threatened to pull them apart. With both love and newfound strength guiding them, Mark knew he was no longer just a man with dreams, but a father and partner intertwined in authenticity and family growth. As laughter echoed behind him, he felt immense pride surging within. They were home. This is the moment. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. It makes a difference. Comment your reactions and theories about the ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. You need to subscribe now and show your support. Don't wait even one more second to share. Only true fans of personal overcoming stories understand the importance of supporting this channel through these actions.